Hi everyone, welcome to Traveling Misknits. My name is Pia and I am so happy that you're joining me here in Denmark today for a little chat about yarn and knitting. I don't have any crochet this week, I have knitting. I have quite a lot of knitting. I have 2 finished objects. I have a new cast on, some dream knitting, and then we're going to talk about picking up stitches at the underarm of a sweater, how to avoid holes and bulk, and how to make that whole process as neat and easy as possible. But yeah, 2 finished objects, and I'm actually tempted to count them as 4 because it's 2 pairs of socks. I have never tried that before. I have never finished 2 pairs of socks in 1 week. I didn't cast them on and knit them in 1 week for sure. These have been on my needles for much longer than they needed to, but I finished them and I am excited, as you can probably tell. So first I finished my DK weight socks. I'm just going to see if I can hang these again, because we're going to talk about those later. They each need their moment to shine. First, I finished my DK weight socks. I cast these on during the summer. It's not too bad, but yeah, just cozy DK weight ripped socks. I did have to do some sock surgery on sock number 1, and now of course I can't tell which one is number 1 and which one is number 2. I guess that's a good thing. I cast on sock number 1 and I started knitting, and I got a decent amount of the leg done before I got the amazing idea to try the sock on. And it turned out that my cast on was way too tight. My 1x1 ribbing up here was way too tight. I had to struggle to pull them onto my feet. And at first I was like, I can struggle, that's fine. But I was not happy with them. What I had done was I had cast on too few stitches. I was a little uncertain, so I had cast on too few stitches, knit the 1x1 ribbing, and then I had increased to a much better amount. And I don't remember, did I have 44, or I think I have 44 down here and maybe only 38 up here, 40, something like that. I was not gonna pull back all of that sock knitting. So what I did instead was I do 1 row, and I don't know if you can tell, but I do 1 row in plain knit stitches as I transition from the 1x1 ribbing at the cuff to the 2x2 ribbing on the leg. I know that many people just will have their 2x2 ribbing all the way up. I find it neater with a little cuff in 1x1. That's just my thing. But fortunately, I do a round of just knit stitches as I transition. So it was easy for me to go back into that round, pick up my stitches, and then cut off the cuffs, knit them the other way, so to speak. And yeah, I can't tell. I should be able to tell. I can't tell. But I knit them the opposite direction, going upwards. And then I decided to do a sewn bind off, an Italian bind off, because that way, 1, I would get a lot of extra stretch, and 2, I could do an Italian cast on for the next sock so that the 2 would be identical. And they are. For sure, they're identical. I don't know why my camera is... I think it's the lighting. We have some strange weather today. 1 second the sun will come bursting in and the next second it's pouring rain. So please bear with me. I am doing my best with what I have. But yeah, that solved the problem on sock number 1. Sock number 2 was smooth sailing. They are just, 2x2 ribbed DK weight socks. I did a short row heel. When I do a short row heel, I will always add 2 stitches more to the heel stitches just to be sure that the heel is going to be deep enough. I do have narrow, skinny heels, very wide forefeet, like a dog. But yeah, the short row heel really fits my heel very, very well. I did a grafted toe and yeah, very simple and extremely cozy for the season that is just starting now. And then, because I was so excited that I was able to actually finish a pair of socks, I picked up my Spring Sister socks. I started knitting these in the spring. Yeah, of course. I finished sock number 1 and I got a good start on sock number 2. I was halfway through the leg when I just stopped knitting on them. But yeah, I picked them up and finished them. And my Spring Sister socks, they're just plain vanilla socks that I make them in some white for the body of the sock. Did you say that? And then I stripe in all kinds of scraps and leftovers for the cuffs, heels, and toes. And I love them. I don't make them match. I don't make them to match. They're sister socks. They're not twins. And I love that because this way I can knit a lot of Spring Sister socks. And when my washing machine decides to send one of them to the big black hole of the many socks, I'm not losing a pair of socks. I'm just losing one sock. And I can pair it with any other Spring Sister sock that I have. I'm actually doing the exact same thing for my fall family socks, which I am wearing today. I love them. They make me happy with all their scrappiness, and still they're not too scrappy because balance. Balance is everything for me. I am also wearing my cat number 8. This is the sweater that I have designed for our 8th knitathon, which is now really coming up. 2 more weeks. We're going to start the knitathon on October 4, going into October 5. And yeah, I designed this sweater for the knitathon. You don't have to knit this sweater, obviously not. The knitathon is a very relaxed, informal event where basically what happens is that different knitting or crochet podcasters, they either go live or they premiere a video so that you can chat with them in real time. And they do that every hour on the hour for the 24 hours that the knitathon lasts. So you don't need to sign up. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to knit anything special. You just come join us. There's a lot of information on my website, my new website, misknits.dk. Yay, finally it happened. On the website, you can find the schedule and a little bit of information about the knitathon. But this is the pattern that I designed for the knitathon. I am gonna be knitting another version on it throughout the 24 hours. This is actually a remake of an old pattern. A couple of years back, 2.5 years back, something like that. I was working on the book that never happened, together with a Danish dyer, and it just didn't happen. This pattern was part of the collection for the book, but during the test phase, we actually pulled the pattern from the book because it was too difficult. I was doing a lot of clever stuff with it, a lot of really clever shaping, but it just didn't work out. So I decided this year to take this pattern, take it back to the basics so that everyone would be able to knit it. And I will say my testers fortunately didn't run into any trouble during testing of this one. So it is basically a top-down raglan. Nothing really special about it. There's a few short rows just to make sure it doesn't crawl up on the back. What makes this sweater special are the sleeves. The sleeves have this beautiful pattern. It has some cabling running down the entire sleeve, and then you have this pattern of wrapped stitches showing up every now and then. It's very, very easy. There's nothing difficult in this pattern. Wrapping the stitches and doing the bubbles, it's easy. Of course it takes time, but that's the beauty of knitting, isn't it? That we get to spend time doing what we love most. I do mark this pattern as not too beginner friendly because a lot goes on up here. At the same time that you are setting up the pattern and increasing a little bit for the body, you're also working an Estonian braid, which is mirrored on the bottom of the sweater here. So there's just a lot going on here, short rows and whatnot. But I would say any adventurous beginner could actually knit this pattern if they just take their time and highlight the pattern line that they're working. Then there's nothing difficult in this. It's just a lot up here, but you're past that in no time, and then it's just really straightforward knitting of the yoke and the body. And the sleeve pattern, as I said, there's nothing difficult in it. It's interesting. It is a lot of twisted rib, but you know, yeah, I had fun knitting it, and I hope that others will too. I am, of course, gonna link the pattern below. I just released it today on Ravelry, and there is a discount code for you. If you put cat number 8 in the little box at checkout on Ravelry, you will get a 20% discount that is good through to the end of the Knitathon. So I hope that we will be a lot of people knitting cat number 8 during that glorious 24 hours. It is worked in a DK to worsted weight. I chose a worsted weight because I wanted a really cozy fall sweater, but I have also, the first version I knit was in a DK weight. The gauge is 20 stitches, so of course you can use a DK weight as well. This yarn really surprised me because this is a very budget-friendly yarn, and it just worked like a charm. It is from a Danish company called Hjertegarn. The yarn is called Lima. The colorway is 710. I am going to put that in the description box as well. But I would say if you are not able to get Hjertegarn, which you're probably not if you're not in Europe, then Wool of the Andes worsted would be a perfect substitute. I have worked with that yarn as well a lot. I really like it. I find that it's just like this Lima, a trusted workhorse of a yarn that It's budget friendly, it is durable, it's beautiful, and it's so easy to work with. So that would be my recommendation. But again, you can use anything. My first version was knit in a luxurious yak and silk blend in, again, a DK weight. A lot of yarns will work with this pattern. And now for what I have been knitting on besides the glorious socks. If you watched last week's episode, you saw that I had cast on a vest in this beautiful chunky mohair. It is a yarn that I got from Garnspecialisten, a company that specializes in rescuing yarns that were actually destined for destruction. That's very dramatic, right? I was going through a lot of ideas for this yarn. I decided to go with another Knitathon pattern, the cat number 3. Not that I'm actually knitting the cat number 3, but that pattern came about because I, for many, many years, have been knitting vests for myself and my family with a very simple recipe. You cast on some stitches for the neck, then you increase for the body on either side of a stitch you place on the shoulder. You increase on every round until you think that's wide enough. This is going to fit me. And then you just knit the front and the back down. I wrote it up as a pattern for the 3rd Knitathon. So there's instructions on how to put in the short row shaping up here at the neck, how to work the ribbing on the sides so that the fabric doesn't curl in on itself. And then in the pattern there are instructions to either put in some buttons on the sides or some ties. I chose to just pin it. I did a poor job of doing that, but I just pinned it with some way too small pins. So I am probably gonna add a big chunky button in either side. But yeah, I'm almost done. I decided to do a turtleneck for this one. I've never tried that before, but I thought that would be so cozy when it's this chunky, soft dream of a fall vest. Fortunately, I did not. Usually when I make these vests, I will cast on, I will knit a crew neck and then just go into the short row shaping. Fortunately, I didn't do this on this one. I just cast on and started working the body of the vest right away, deciding that I would come back later to pick up stitches for the neckline. There was a multitude of reasons, including the fact that I didn't have the size needle that I wanted, but also when I am working something as big and chunky as this, or actually in many, many cases, I like a picked up neckline. On this sweater, you have the Estonian braid to give some stability to the neckline. There is a lot of weight carried by the neckline, and a picked up neckline just has that little bit of structure that you don't have if you start all the way up here and just knit the neckline and go directly into the yoke. So because I did that, I was able to just, go back, pick up stitches and start working on my turtleneck. And I am almost there. I think it needs to be around 20 centimeters, 8 inches. And I'm at, 3 inches now. So not a lot of knitting left on this one. I'm gonna be able to start wearing it really soon, which is exciting. I really like this one. I also have a new cast on. And before we look at that, there's something that I need to say. Peter, my love, I know you're watching and I love you for that. I know that you don't care for knitting. So the fact that you watch every episode makes me feel that you care about me, and I love you for that. Now go away. Seriously. Turn it off. Walk away. I'll tell you what happens in the rest of the episode. Are you gone? Good. Peter's birthday is coming up. I have bought a pair of shoes for him, hiking shoes, and I wanted him to have cozy DK weight socks just like mine. His hiking shoes are large enough that he can easily wear a DK weight sock in them. So I decided to go ahead and make him socks just like mine. Or not just like mine, but similar to mine. I did an Italian cast on again. I really like that they're so stretchy. I actually cast on with the leftovers. Come on. I cast on with the leftovers from the sweater I'm wearing. I love the color. Then I did the 1x1 ribbing. I did the 1 round of plain knitting, and then I continued into the 2x2 ribbing. For him, I cast on 60 stitches. He has quite large feet. He has wide feet, really wide. And he has, what do you call that? When your foot is, when it's very tall around here? That he has. So often a normal heel doesn't really fit him well. Heel flap and gusset will give him too much fabric in the wrong places. A short row heel is too narrow and too low for him. So I am doing a sweet tomato heel on these ones. I have done sweet tomato heel socks for him before. They fit him really well. So I'm going to do that again. There is a very good tutorial here on YouTube where the designer of the sweet tomato heel walks you through every step of the process. It is so easy. Basically, you're just working 3 sections of a regular short row heel. I'm doing a poor job explaining that, but I will link a really good and fun tutorial in the description box below. It's a very good heel for the people that need just a little more space around their heel and the top of the foot. So I'm going to do that. I need to finish them way faster than I usually finish a sock. So I'm probably going to make these a priority, which is, I mean, I'm also working on my advent sweater. I want to finish my vest, but I am going to make these a priority. I want to finish them in time for his birthday, which is not until October 13th. So I do have time. I should be able to finish a pair of DK weight socks within that time frame, right? The yarn for his and mine socks, it's a sock yarn that I used to sell. I just bought it directly from the mill in Italy. It is just a merino with this merino nylon. I think it's is it a 75-25? I honestly don't remember. It's a sturdy sock yarn. Yeah, I'm sure you can get something similar, but I'm trying to work my way through the leftovers of that. I also have some dream knitting, which is, I just sat there saying, I'm gonna make Peter's sock a priority and I want to finish my vest. And as I said, I'm also knitting on my Advent sweater for this year. But there is something that I really need. I really, really need this vest, the Academic by Knits, and I need it in the leftovers from my Astrid sweater. Wouldn't that just be gorgeous? It would be so pretty. Plus it would be really fun to knit and not as involved as this. The stitch patterns on the Academic are much easier to work and everything is steeped. The neckline, the armholes, everything is steeped. So it's probably not going to be too bad, I think. For sure, it's going to be fun. I'm going to cast it on because it has a very, very long ribbing, and that would be perfect for me to work on when we go to Mors, one of the many beautiful islands in Denmark. We have a 5-hour drive going up there. So a very, very long ribbing on teeny tiny needles would be the perfect thing to have for that drive. Yes. See how I am convincing myself that it makes sense? I want to knit that vest. It is so beautiful. So the pattern is bought, the yarn, I put it on it all in a project pack along with the needles. I'm not going to swatch, or I'm going to do a big swatch, like the size of my body swatch. It's going to be fine. It's a vest. So that is definitely something that is coming up. I was lucky enough to get a question from one of you viewers. Someone asked me if I would talk about picking up stitches at the underarms and avoiding holes. The problem with the holes at the underarms, it is simply because we are putting our stitches on hold. They're just hanging there and they're being pulled at. The nature of the knitted fabric is that you have one thread going along the whole round. So when we put some of the stitches on hold and we continue working on the other stitches, the stitches on hold, especially the first and the last, that's going to be pulling, and it's not going to be noticeable over the big stretches of knitting, but it's definitely going to be noticeable for those 2 stitches when you come back and start working them again. They have gotten bigger. Of course, you could go through the entire body of your sweater, evening out the stitches with a tapestry needle, just going into every stitch and pulling on it. I don't recommend that. It's very difficult to get it even and nice, and it's so time consuming. It's much faster to just pick up 1 extra stitch, 1 more stitch than the pattern tells you to, on either side of the sleeve stitches. So if the pattern tells you to pick up 8 stitches, then you pick up 10. You pick up in the stitches that you cast on for the body, and you pick up in the little gap that is between the stitches for the body and the sleeve stitches. Those 2 stitches, you decrease them out on the first round. As soon as you come back to them, you decrease them out. You don't have to worry about them, but the fact that you pick them up and then decrease them makes sure that there are no holes showing at the underarms. It is so easy. It is the thing that in the easiest way helps you avoid holes at the underarms. Of course, you can also go back later with some yarn and tighten up. If you have old sweaters where you didn't use this tip, then you can just take a little bit of yarn from the sweater and just go and like follow the stitch like you were duplicate stitching over the stitch that is really long and the 2 stitches on either side of it, and just pull it tight. It's going to be nice. It's as you're doing it, you're like, oh no, this is going to be bulky. It's not. It's going to be nice. So you can always do that. If you don't have any more of the yarn from the sweater, maybe you're really good at using up your scraps, and yay to you if you are, then maybe just take some, you can get this see-through sewing thread, get some of that and just work through without no one being able to see what you did. Another thing I recommend is as you go to pick up the stitches in the stitches that you cast on for the underarm, you can either pick up in the stitches or between the stitches. And I'm gonna add a photo here to show you the difference of in the stitches and between the stitches. I recommend picking up between the stitches. It's going to look really neat. There's a little more bulk if you pick up in the actual stitches. If you pick up between the stitches, it's barely going to be noticeable when you touch or look under your arm. And again, it's only going to be you knowing all of this. If people come that close there, that's on them. I mean, they shouldn't do that. No one should get that close under your arm. But it's nice to know that you did a good job and that it looks neat. So I definitely recommend picking up between stitches rather than in stitches, and then picking up an extra stitch on either side that you decrease out on the first round. Then you should get really, really nice underarms. I was really happy that you asked me that question. If anyone has any questions that or anything you'd like me to talk about, please, please, please put it in the comment section. I love talking about knitting. I love sharing things that I have learned. What's the fun of knowing stuff if you have no one to share it with? So through my 55 years of knitting, I have picked up a tip or two. I am still picking up tips. I am always on the lookout for new ideas, and very often I learn something new. So let's share the things we know. I really enjoy that. That was it for the creative content this week. It doesn't look like much, but I feel like I've been knitting all the time. Again, I am also working on the Advent pattern for this year. The last 3 years I have published a pattern in November, a pattern that can either be used with a Yarny Advent calendar or with a bunch of scraps. And I have so much fun designing these sweaters. I love knitting them, and I get so proud when I see someone wearing them. There is something about having some limitations for your creativity. When I set out to design a pattern, I find that my creativity really blossoms if there are some limits to what I can do. So the Advent patterns, I am limited by the whole concept of using up these 24 mini skeins, and I love it. So yeah, a lot of the week has been knitting. It has also been a lot about family and friends. We are catching up with everyone after the summer, which is just lovely. We're going to a family dinner again tonight, and then on Thursday we are going to Moss, as I mentioned, driving basically from one end of Denmark to the other, which you can do in 5 to 6 hours, something like that. It's a small country, which is nice. We like a small country here. So we're going all the way up there. I'm not going to be able to understand a thing anyone says up there. The dialect is... I've had 42 years to get used to the dialect. I'm still lost, but they're nice. They always smile. They always give me hugs. So I enjoy my time up there. Also, it's a beautiful island. It is so windy, and there's just something very raw and basic about it that just, yeah, it has my heart. I am still reading The Mercedes Man. No, sorry, that was the Danish title, Mr. Mercedes. I am now getting really close to the end. So if you have any suggestions for good books that I can cozy up with in the short, dark days to come, please leave a comment. I would really appreciate that. I'm going to end things here. Thank you so much for watching. It means the world that you're here. If you enjoyed the video and you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. That really helps me grow this community so that we can have so much more fun together. Until we talk again next week, stay happy, stay safe, and keep